You're in transit from Ryloth on the way to Savareen. And when last we left it, I think the captain was having a little discussion with Kitra about potential maneuvers and plans and things like that. But in the meantime, Doctor, you've finished mostly dealing with the Twi'leks and making sure that they're all passably healthy and they're not going to expire on the way. When you, in your quarters, receive a communication.
Yeah, he'll access it. Is it coming through as just an audio communication?
Yeah. Dr. Vale.
Yes. Who is this?
You know. I have a task for you.
What this time?
A client of mine has lost a droid, a rather important droid. You're going to get him.
Where?
Hypori. Speak with Jasper's aunt.
How will I know how to find them?
Figure it out. And the communication finishes.
Slams his fist on the desk. Looks around to see whether any of his crewmates were in earshot. And seeing that they probably didn't hear. He, I guess he'd open up his data pad and start looking up the details of Hypori and see if he can find anything on Jasper's aunt.
Yeah, Hypori's on the outer rim. It's got a sort of I don't know how much you'd actually be able to find out, but yeah, it's like a tech planet. There's a lot of there's several factories there for the creation of droids, ships, shipyards and stuff like that. It's industrial.
All right. Oh, great. Fucking factory planet. Gotta find one droid on that shithole. When is this gonna fucking end? And then he remembers that they're already en route to another destination, Savareen.
Yep.
Would he know? Obviously, Hypori's not on the way or anything like that. So I guess he'd start trying to figure out.
You are going closer because your Savareen is closer to the galactic center than Ryloth is. But I mean, close is a relative term, you know?
Yeah. I think with that, he'd having some base information now. I think he would probably go to try and find Kitra and try and get her alone to speak with her about this, since she's so far the only one he's confided in about his situation with his blackmail.
Sure. In the meantime, Captain and Kitra, did you want to have a conversation?
What I have from my notes last time was I needed to forge the manifest documents to add slaves for the Imperial transport. So I don't know if you want me to make that roll.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think we can call it. I wonder, is computers applicable, or should it be something like Streetwise or Skullduggery? I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, Yeah, I would probably say I'd probably say computers. It's hard not to lean on computers so much, but
It honestly, it could be like a split, like a step one, step two, like computers to get into the system, and then skullduggery or whatever to actually know what to change and like how to know like what seals and approvals to put on what and so on. It might be a
Right, yeah.
multi-step.
Yeah. Keytrick could definitely work the computer to manipulate the documents, but as far as the imperial lingo and or stamps,
Right.
whatever it is to put in there, she is not going to be that knowledgeable about that stuff.
Okay, so if you want to go ahead and give me computers, I'm going to say it's difficulty 3, but you're going to add a red, so 2 purples and a red.
2 purples and a red, but I can remove 1
black, right? Setback.
Yeah, setback, which you didn't give me. Okay, so roll it.
Oh boy.
So
that's a confusing roll because that is a success, advantage, a triumph, and despair.
Yeah.
Like you've really hit both ends of the oh shitosphere.
For sure.
We call that one the mixed bag.
Yeah, we call that one impossible to parse.
What the hell is that? Is that even possible?
I would have thought those two cancel each other out, but I guess not.
That's what I thought, but I guess no.
Okay, well, this is definitely going to require some group discussion as to what we think happens here because.
Well, I mean, you're the GM. If you want them to cancel out,
I like that it's both. That it's like both really good and very bad.
Yeah. I would say so. Success. Obviously, I'm able to get into the manifest. I can change it.
Yeah.
I can change it very good. The despair part, I would say, from a hacker point of view, I would say it would maybe not to an imperial, maybe not just to the person who's just reading it off the data pad, but anyone who's knowledgeable about computers to a degree, at least at my rank 2 or more, would be able to tell they've been manipulated maybe.
Mm. So I think maybe there's like something in the form that's like a giveaway if someone was careful and was reading more carefully than like your standard sort of like, yeah, this all seems fine. Something minor, but important. But I'll say with the triumph that you were like, the triumph can be that you succeed on the skullduggery, that you were able to figure out like the necessary stuff, the correct language and the correct stamps and stuff. You're able to manufacture those and like create them yourself without too much issue. So you have what you think is a pretty damn good forgery.
Yeah, Keecher's just sitting there and she's jamming away on the data pad, and she just kind of sits back and she's pretty proud of herself. She doesn't notice any flaws in it. To her, this looks perfect. It's like, I think I've outdone myself, Captain.
And the captain, she's standing over you as you work, nodding. Says, "Good. We don't want any trouble. These are the wrong people to mess with." Shell was right about that. Let's make sure it's clean and the Imperials don't catch us. Good job. And she'll patch through the doctor probably shortly after he received that message, and she'll say, "What's the status of the people in the cargo? Is everyone okay?"
Malnourished, wounded, as good as they can be, Captain. I've given them all a once over and some patching and some extra fluids and nutrients. they'll be arriving in the best shape that we could have them. And he seems a bit more agitated than when you spoke with him probably not long prior today.
She'll just say, like misreading this completely. I'm not comfortable with it either. You heard that spat back there. But Shell is right. We're in dangerous hands now. This job means a lot to this ship. Keep a steady head. Aye, Doctor?
Aye, Captain.
And she'll hit the palm. Will the ship kind of, like, how close are, since we followed that conversation directly, I'm going to probably say the captain would return to the cockpit and make sure that that it was smooth flying, and we'll look at Chip and just nod at the droid. A tired hand just kind of rests on the dome of the droid, and she takes a seat in the captain's chair.
Yes, we are any number of conversations you want to have away from Savarine. So that's how long it's going to take us to get there. So when you guys are done with whatever you want to do, you will like exit hyperspace. Like it's going to be like roughly a day, but whatever you want to do in that time is up to you.
I would just say there is when Kidra that evening returned to her quarters, there would be a like lightly encrypted message on her tablet that read, "We don't have to be the monsters they are. We'll find a way to fix this, but we need to protect our crew and the ship. We need to do the job. We'll find a way out. We'll make a plan. When I call, I'll need you. Keep this to yourself."
Yeah, I would definitely take that message and once reading it, just delete it. I think somewhere in the corridors of the ship, Kitra would bump into the doctor.
Yeah, he would be looking a bit agitated and distracted, probably face down in his data pad as he's walking through the corridor, and probably actually does bump into you physically before noticing. And then when he sees that it's you, a bit of relief will come over his face, or maybe something akin to hope or relief. You're not too sure, but I'm sure it's a look you've seen before when he's been contacted by whoever the hell it is that's blackmailing him.
Yeah,
You're doing okay?
Yeah, I'll live. What about how are our passengers? And she kind of like emphasizes the word passengers doing.
Yeah, he resists correcting her correcting the word passengers into cargo or inventory or something like that, knowing that that's just not helpful. They'll live too, at least while they're with us. Kind of says a bit forlornly, I'm sorry that things got heated back there, but Shell is right. We're in this now, and the only way out alive to move on to the next job and to try and get ourselves out of this cycle is to finish what we've started.
I understand. I don't want us to be at odds with the Crimson Dawn. I already have enough enemies, and I'm sure the rest of us have other enemies that we don't need to add on to the list here. But between me and you, just don't say anything to Shell. Damn it, I hate admitting that he's right.
You won't hear it from me. And then his smile kind of...
You look, well, you seem to be a bit distracted. Something on your mind?
Yeah, his smile kind of sours a bit. And he leans in close, maybe like sort of turns her by the shoulder so that they're kind of in a bit more of a huddle, and looks to one side and then the other down the corridor. They made contact again. Got another assignment, which I have no choice but to try and do. Hypori. Guess I'll have to wait until after we drop off this cargo, but I'm still not sure how the captain and Shell will react.
Well, what's the assignment?
Didn't give me any more information than with the last one. Got to figure it out for myself mostly, but I've got a name and I need to pick up a droid. Jasper Zant is the contact, and that's all I know.
And on the data pad, if I punch in the coordinates of this planet, how off course would it take us?
Oh yeah, hugely. It's like you're heading towards the galactic center, but it's like you'd have to like cross the galactic center to get to Hypori. It's like way the other side. So
Okay.
you'd have to like go away and come back, as opposed to, it's not on the way.
Okay. And did he... seems to be... Well, that takes us definitely outside of our current course, so I agree. It would have to wait till after we finish this job. Doesn't sound like they gave you any sort of time constraint.
Have they ever?
Well, I'm just
right
saying.
Fucking now is always the time constraint.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just saying we have time. After this job, we'll have some credits, and the ship does need repairs. And looking at certain parts, Hypori does have a couple of the parts that we need, so it may be worth it. 2 for 1. We don't need to tell anyone else more than that, I suppose. Though I hate keeping secrets, but it's up to you.
I know they'll need to find out sooner or later. Maybe we'll see how this delivery goes, and then maybe the best approach will be to be up front and let the captain know. And Shell, of course. The captain doesn't necessarily need to find out how long it's been going on, or that we've withheld my circumstances somewhat from her. I mean, shit, out here, everyone's got secrets of some kind, right?
Yeah, well, information can is valuable. It's almost as good as credits out here in the Outer Rim. So just be careful who you tell, and don't divulge too much to Shell. That man would sell his own mother to get ahead in this world.
Don't I know it? And the smile kind of returns, although it's a bit half-hearted, a little bit forced, but there is a genuine nature to it. I appreciate your help, Kitra. Happy that I can confide with you. And shit, hopefully after this, picking up this droid, we can figure out a way to get me free from these, whoever this is.
We'll figure it out, Doc. Till then, let's just continue to keep this between us. Let's not overcomplicate what we already have on our plate.
I think that's a good idea. Fancy a drink?
Sure thing. And I think at that time too, like the data pad little vid screen would pop up, and it's Chip and just making its little boops and tweets and everything, kind of just talking, relaying that we're getting closer to our destination.
Yeah, before he can finish the beeps and whistles, there's a and you like translate back into real space. Typical Chip. And you are close to, they're not quite in orbit of Savarine, which is a large desert planet. And the very second that you translate from hyperspace, there's a weet, weet, weet. Ship is being hailed.
Chip receive.
Corellian Y2000 freighter. Send transponder code.
She would patch it through.
Uncomfortably long sort of period of time that you're made to wait. Although you're used to this, Imperials have this habit of stretching out this time as much as possible. Reduce speed and prepare for inspection.
Happy to. See you on the bridge. And she she doesn't stutter. But she'll just give a salute and hit the patch. I don't know, like, is it just audio or is it video?
Just audio, I'd say.
Okay, cool. Yeah, she would say, you're more than welcome. See you soon.
Yeah, there's no response. So you can see from the front that there's a a P951 patrol boat approaching, and it begins to match speed. And as you like slow your speed, it matches, and then it will attach the necessary airlock so that they can walk across.
And she would have said, patched through and said, Shell, join me at the airlock. Let's greet our guests.
You got it, Chief. And Shell will like leave out of his quarters and go to wherever the main deck is, where this airlock would be going through.
Yeah, it like opens up into sort of the kitchen area of your ship. This like big open sort of room that serves as kitchen, dining room, most of the things. Or it's not meant to serve for that, but that's kind of what you use it for because it's a big room. When the doors open, there's an Imperial officer, woman, with one of those faces that looks like it's been carved as opposed to like birthed. Incredibly like aquiline nose that she spends her entire life looking down. And she's flanked by 2 stormtroopers, and they'll like walk on, and she'll like look down at this data pad in her hand, and then look around. Which one of you is in charge?
The captain would step forward and say, Captain Sharadel Mega.
She like puts up a finger and then begins to like type into the data pad. The 2 stormtroopers with their rifles just kind of scan, looking quite bored. Very good. Manifest says you're transporting live cargo.
Live cargo indeed. Shell? And she'll gesture for Shell to lead the officer with her keeping pace beside.
Right. Now the slaves are being kept in quarters, right, as opposed to the cargo hold.
Yes, I think that was what at least the others had set up. Yeah.
Okay. So do you take them there?
We do.
Yeah, Shell will kind of give that once-over look to the boss of like, we're actually just doing this the straight and narrow way, right? And I'm sure they have kind of that look that they share. That's like, yep. In which case, they'll kind of like, okay, follow me. And take them over to the, I would imagine, quarters or 2 where they're being held.
Yeah, there's a look, kind of quizzical look on the officer's face as you don't go to the cargo bay. As the doors are opened, she'll walk in and grab the wrist of one of the Twi'leks and like check that there's a code, and then do so for each of them.
Sensing this quizzical look, the captain will pitch up and say, these ones had a reputation for...
Silence. You keep your cargo in the living quarters. You understand that freeing of slaves without proper licenses is prohibited under Article 834-D of the Kashyyyk Decree.
Oh, they are far from free, and they know that.
And yet you keep them here in comfortable quarters. They are cargo, no?
We are keeping them in top condition. Our employers are known for their reputation with these kind of goods. And she'll gesture to the people.
These are high quality, you suggest?
Well, by our standard.
Our clients make, Shell will kind of butt in. Our clients like to make specific requests. We're not obligated to ask them why they make them, but they make them nonetheless. And they were requested to be treated with at least some level. And he'll kind of like roll his eyes when he says it, of dignity. I can't say why. They ask us to do the job. We don't ask questions. This is what they asked us to do.
Yes, of course. And it is at our inconvenience.
So it would appear. And these are special in what way? What are their skills?
She would raise an eyebrow towards Shell.
Shell will just shrug. We weren't told. We're just transporters. Their use, their qualifications is not our place to ask. It is merely our place to bring them where we're paid to bring them.
Very well. And she'll turn on her heel and walk back out to the main area. Stormtroopers, one of them will stay for a second and like look over the Twi'leks like he's suspicious. But then eventually will turn and follow.
And she'll whisper something about what did I tell you about uncuffing them?
Shell will just like look back like, I wasn't the one who gave the order nor undid them.
She'll just say, "Enough. It's as requested, I suppose." And she'll hit the door switch, and it'll snap behind them, and she'll be following the officer and the stormtroopers.
I'm going to allow you to pass, although you will receive a citation for loose cargo, not properly secured. You can pay your fine at any Imperial way station. You should tap a few more buttons on this data pad, which will print out this tiny little piece of paper that she'll hand to you.
And the captain will say, "Your generosity and professionalism is noted."
Yes, and your lack of it, any sort of professionalism, has been noted too. You've been added to a list, Captain Del Maga. Any more infractions, and there'll be trouble.
She looks at the crew that are available, at least, and says, "We are committed to do better by the Empire."
See that you do.
Yeah, Shell will be positioned so that he can make eye contact with the captain, but behind the officer and the stormtroopers. And we'll just kind of give that look of don't press your luck here. This is good. As much as it sucks, this is good. We'll just kind of give you that knowing look of good work, telling them that we'll just pay it and move on.
Yeah, she'll take that in, but she'll show no change in expression, and she'll silently just gesture towards the exit, and we'll bow slightly as a courtesy.
Yeah, she'll go to the door, the airlock. The stormtroopers will turn to look in at you guys as the door opens and she leaves. And as she's 3 steps away, then they will both turn as well and go.
Once they can, once we hear the disengagement of the airlock and know that their ship is gone and that they're not listening in anymore, Shell will just kind of look back and just shrug. This is why you keep cargo in the cargo bay, just like I said. But no, now we have to pay money and get put on a list because we're just so humanitarian. And he'll roll his eyes.
The captain will look at Shell and kind of with a stern, cold expression, just say, "I don't do this often. You're right. I don't admit this often, but you were right before. We're in hotter water than I ever intended this crew to be in, despite wanting this kind of job, this kind of work, this kind of opportunity. If we're going to get to the point where we can choose the type of work that we want, we have to see this through. I appreciate your wisdom in this. Don't test it." And she just smirks at the end.
Shell will just give just the smarmiest, self-righteous smirk of the entire galaxy back at you as you say this, and I'll begin to subtly laugh at that. Just finally, someone decided to talk some sense around here other than me. Glad to know.
Don't test it. She'll nod and she'll kind of have a playful expression on at this point, and she'll walk away.
As you go to turn, Shell will just say one last thing. Just say, "Look, and for once, I'll be sincere. If you want to do good deeds, that's your prerogative. Being good in this part of the galaxy requires power. You can't be a nobody and do good. You'll die for it. So if you're going to be the good guy, if we're going to play hero, we gotta take a couple steps up the ladder first. Once we have some money, some power, some influence, some connections, we'll kind of put his arms out. We can save all the slaves that you want to. But until then, we're fucked if we do something wrong. And he'll shrug and go to like turn a little bit just to see if you're going to continue to walk away, that you can.
The captain will take this in, and as she walks away, not engaging the conversation further directly, at least not facing Shell, she'll say, "Yes, that is beyond your years in wisdom. However, that is the kind of captain that I want to be eventually, once we get through this." She's still walking, her voice fading a little bit as she goes down the hallway. But the question is, when you get what you want from this galaxy, from this outer rim, what kind of decisions will you want to make? We need to find that out, Shell. And she'll turn the corner, taking this honest advice and sincerity in, as she sits down in the cockpit again and patches through. Prepare to land on Savarine. Get everything you need in order, and prepare our passengers for transit, which they would know means putting them back in chains.
Shell will turn back towards the corridor where the slaves are kept and start walking toward it. And I'll just like go back in over the comms, say, "Yep, on it, boss." And then he'll like let the comm cut out, and he'll just kind of start shaking his head. And I'll just like mutter to no one, like no one's around, but he'll like say it anyways, just like as if I haven't thought every goddamn second of what I'm gonna do with that power. Just to nobody, before going back into the door, to like make sure that the slaves are in proper position so that when they land, they don't get another ticket or another check.
You've been given coordinates of where to meet your contact, and Chip will like begin flying in that direction. And you see quickly that you're flying over settlements, but not landing in them. And the settlements get sort of further and further apart, and there's more and more just desert. And it's a good like hour and a half before you like reach what is the appropriate coordinates. You are far from anywhere, and you think this is definitely deliberate.
Yes, I know, Chip. It wasn't my fault that we got fined. I was only responsible for manipulating the manifest, which obviously worked because they didn't know that the cargo was not supposed to be on here. So my part of the job was done. If we got fined, that was Shell, obviously.
You go to land at this tower. It's like the first constructed thing you've seen in a long time. And there's just like sprawling, endless desert in every direction. And you land in the shadow of this tower.
The captain would dress herself in her long draping cape, her holdout blaster holstered inside her chest, just underneath, just above her abdomen, and her hair is tied back as she gathers the crew, and then helps with the effort of keeping the slaves in order, as we get closer to the destination. She'll have one last like meet where they all intersect, where she just looks at everyone and says, "Crew vote. Remember, no heroes." And she'll depart once landed.
So you can get off and into the baking sun. The heat on this planet is just unbelievable. And you are far from anything that could help with that. You can stand in the shadow of this tower, and even so, the heat is just like immediately as you get off the ship, just this wall that hits you. And you can see like way in the distance, these like plumes of dust, which you assume is your contact.
And they always got to make you walk for it. He'll just kind of like shake his head. Such a pain.
"Greetings, friend." She'll yell.
Yeah, there's no answer. And they're like pretty far. You can see in the distance, but like you can't really see who they are. You think this is another sort of pretty standard bullshit gangster move of making you do the thing, making you walk.
After a long pause in silence, she'll begin to step forward. I imagine she'd keep Shell close, with the doctor, with the actual slaves. The doctor would be responsible for taking care of them. Yeah, she would step forward with Shell, and with Keitra probably following somewhere in between.
Shell won't
Yeah, when
pull
the
it out,
doctor-
but his hand will kind of rest on his blaster just in case there's any trouble, either from the slaves or from the other crew members, if they break the rule, or if anybody else comes along. He'll be prepared, but he won't pull it out or show it blatantly.
So you walk for what is maybe like 6 minutes in this insane heat, and immediately you're sweating and uncomfortable. The slaves, with their shackles, are finding it difficult, and more than once, one of them falls and has to be picked back up. But eventually, you'll come to like a repulsor sort of speeder, and several sort of swoop bikes. So there's 7 people here. All of them are wearing some kind of armor. You think it's probably like to control the temperature and the heat, as well, obviously, to protect them. But they all have like sealed armor, except for this one Ubisi woman who's sitting like astride her swoop bike, sort of leaning back as you approach. Very good. Over here.
"You must be Oaska."
I am.
"Captain Delmega."
Charmed. Which one of these gave the most mouth? Points to the slaves.
She would look to the doctor and would refer to the doctor, and say, "In less things. Unless our travel log, my doctor's travel log, was misinformed, I believe it was an easy trip. No,
All equally obedient.
None asked for freedom.
I believe their time with our mutual connection has shown them what their place is. It'll be.
And the doctor would just nod along, trying to emphasize not wanting to see any of them come to harm here. But he's skeptical if there's any way that that's not going to happen.
Can you, Doctor, make me some sort of check to hide your obvious discomfort? Because I feel like under the gaze of like these heavily armed people, when they ask you a direct question and you're like not saying something, that you would like sweat more than usual even.
Maybe like discipline, I think would make sense, or cool. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
Here. Yeah, so we'll say discipline. It'll be 2 purples and a red.
Okay. Well, okay. It might not go that well. I've got 2 will and no skill in that. So that's 2 green, right?
Yep. You can points if you want. They'll turn a green into a yellow.
Oh yeah. Anyone mind if I do that? So I just click 1 to flip it. Is that right?
Yeah.
No, I think this is important. You should do it.
Yeah, cool. And sorry, it was 1 red, 2 purple, did you say?
That's right, yeah.
Excellent. All right, sorry, good to go.
Oh boy.
Oh god.
Okay. So I mean, you tell me how you give it away, but it's clear that you've that somehow you've given away that you are hiding something.
Yeah, I think as he's nodding along in agreement to what the captain's saying, trying to convey that none of them asked for freedom. They're all, they've all accepted their place. I think as he's nodding along, he glances over towards the slaves, and I think it might even just be like a longing sort of look, like just far more obvious, like he doesn't realize it's just ripped plain across his face.
Yeah, I think you probably your gaze lingers on the one that had asked and had called you a coward.
Yes. And
so as that sort of happens, you'll see that this woman's eyes are incredibly sharp, and they just dart around. And she turns her head and she turns over her shoulder and says something quietly in an alien language. And 3 of the 7 will begin marching towards the slaves. She just looks at you, and as they get there, they take that one and they grab him and bring him down to the ground. And if there's no interference, do you want to say something, Kevin?
She'll be sweating on her brow, and her hand will also be slowly moving towards her upper abdomen, where it rests kind of on the holster, but it's below her cape, and she'll just stand still and watch.
They'll pull this Twi'lek onto the ground, and 2 of them will pry his mouth open, and the 3rd will take out this tool, and they're going to cut out his tongue.
You see Keitra just kind of motion towards the captain.
Shell will just shoot this glance of just nobody do anything. Just don't. Just don't.
Yeah, Maro is gritting his teeth, clenching his jaw, and just trying to just let this play out and not do anything stupid.
The captain's face will be consistent with most of her crew as she looks in Keetra's eyes for a long moment, the hot sun just smashing on her face as she squints across. And she makes sure she turns her gaze directly to what's happening to the Twi'lek, not wanting to look away from the actions she is going to have to own.
Just terrible noises of this Twi'lek as like his tongue is cut out and then he's like choking on blood. And you see one of them will like really quickly like cauterize the wound and then like push him back up to his feet. He like falls over immediately. And they pull him up again and he falls over again and then they just kick him while he's down. And she turns to you sort of casually, always an example must be set. You understand, I'm sure.
Everyone has their place. This is his. We do understand. Everything has its proper order, and you have yours. And this is how it should be. I'll kind of look. His eyes will glance across to the rest of his crew, just like, please don't.
The captain will nod quietly, but will not say a word.
And are you in the habit of withholding information?
She'll look and gesture towards Shell and say, my companion said exactly what was on my mind. You set the right example.
And yet when I asked, no answer was given.
Forgive us. This man will point over to the doctor. Say, this man was the one who looked after the slaves, and he is a doctor. And doctors have their promises that they make, that they must keep people well. It's merely a common issue for folks such as him. If I had known better, I would have come forth. As you say, an honest dealing is an important one.
She like flares her snake-like nostrils and then like gestures, and some of the guys will go over and take the crates of rill and put them onto their repulsor sled.
She'll.
Speaking of honest dealings, I'm sure if there's nothing else, then we can have our end of the arrangement. Kind of hinting at just payment and getting this over with, unless there's more to deal with. He doesn't want this to be a prolonged meeting.
Yes, your doctor will apologize and then I will pay you.
Fault was mine, overseer. You were right, of course. It is as my crewmate has said. It was wrong to withhold the information from you. It is my conflict to deal with, and I shall know in future that some of my older oaths, and he kind of trails off at that. This is correct, and this is your place, and this is my place. I was wrong.
She looks at some of the guys behind her. Do you believe him? I don't believe him. No? And they'll like sort of shake their heads, and there's like a sort of metallic chuckle from one of them behind the respirator. On your knees. Say it again.
No need for this now. You healers are softer types. You understand keeping a crew in order, my friend. Leave that to me.
I think the doc still puts his hands up in like a sort of surrendering sort of gesture. Doesn't have his big heavy coat on. He's left that in the ship before he stepped out in this baking heat. So he's got his vest on, and loose pants and boots, and he kneels in the sand, just holding his hands out of either side of his head. and if the captain sort of stops talking, he would apologize again, hoping that this will sate sate that any potential bloodlust that this woman might have, or seeking to make yet another example.
It is a new crew. I hope you can respect my need to keep them in order in my way. Although I do appreciate your keen eye. Doctor, we will be speaking about this, and do not expect your cut of our job today. You have embarrassed our crew. Apologize to the man, and she'll look to the she'll wait for like the last apology, and then she'll pipe up and say, let's keep it to business then. I don't want to take any more of your time.
No, indeed. And she'll like reach into the robes that she's wearing, produce a cred stick. You may approach.
The captain will stand and owning the entire burden of what's happening, she'll take a strong step towards the overseer, would do that courteous bow again, and would reach out a hand and make eye contact. Strong but respectful.
Yeah, she'll hand over the cred stick, and then like look away as if it's no concern, and turn back to the men with her and begin like shouting something in alien language, and they'll sort of nod and get to work. You'll see them like roughly grab the Twi'leks and like shove them onto the back of the repulsor sled, and then they'll all kind of mount up on their various swoop bikes and the sled or the land speeder. Business is concluded.
She'll try to make a mental note of all the individual characters in this crew and their equipment, sort of identically. Do I have to make any kind of check to retain this kind of
It's
exact recollection?
No, I think with her, definitely you would, because you don't see a lot of OPC, certainly not here. So you definitely would remember her. As for the others, they all wear, what is it called? Sort of like power armor. It's not power armor, but it's like sealed armor, you know? They're all painted in various different colors and like sort of mishmash or whatever, but they're all wearing like segmented armor is what it is. And they're all armed with rifles.
Okay. And
like some of the specific like markings on some of their armor.
I'm looking more specifically at like their speeders and their vehicles and that sort of thing, so that she'll be able to make a mental note of what they arrived in.
Sure. Yeah.
So
I mean, yep.
So Shell will actually walk over to the doctor and reach a hand down to help the doctor up out of the sand.
Shell, you'd nod as he gets up, wipes the sweat from his brow with his already sweaty arm.
Yeah, as he pulls you up, he'll kind of pull you in like a little bit too close, for like normal comfort or personal space, and he'll just kind of like put a hand on your shoulder and say, "Good job. Suck up now. We can pay them back later. You did good."
Just nods and gives him a clap on the shoulder. Let's get through this.
All right, well, we got our money. Let's get the heck off this planet. This heat's gonna kill me.
Like as they're starting to, basically as they're loading the spice, the individuals, as they're setting off, the captain will look to Keitra and say, scan it for authenticity. Let's make sure we are not getting played here today. It has cost enough already. And she'll look at the doctor, and she'll pass a credit chip to Keitra to detect whether or not these credits are legit, like data pad scan, whatever you would do in the Star Wars equivalent.
Yeah. Yep. It's a no-brainer. Like if you insert it into the data pad, it'll give a readout of the credits. Legit.
Um,
And just to clarify, so this credit amount that we've been given is including the share that we'll have to pass off to our contact as well. So we'll need to make a return trip to get him paid as well.
Yeah, you need to pay him, and then he will pay you.
Perfect.
Okay, so these clouds of dust are like knocked up again as they leave, with like one last glance over her shoulder before she goes Iwaska. And away they go into the desert to where you couldn't possibly guess, because it looks like there's nothing in any direction. But you can return back to your ship, and then we can decide where we're going. We'll take a quick break, and we'll figure that out when we get back.
okay. Is everyone back? No.
I'm here. Whew.
All right.
I think it would swipe to or sorry, rather, as they're walking towards the ship, the captain would say, I believe
Yeah, we're still waiting on Kitcher to come back,
okay, cool.
I think. Alrighty.
Yeah, the captain, as they walk back towards the ship, will say, you all did well, and we are on our way to not having to do this kind of work again. I know you didn't like it, but they are the Crimson Dawn. With that said, I believe everyone has earned a bit of shore leave on Severine. Not too long, just an evening. You're all free to enjoy your stay on Captain's credit. And she'll give what credits she has, which is I have 100. I have 100 credits left over, so spread between three. I'd give them 30 credits each.
Okay, so you can fly to one of the settlements here. It's all kind of backwatery. It's like a desert planet, and so it's the towns aren't bustling, but you can definitely find like a cantina or like a an ale sink somewhere if you're inclined.
I would take a private moment with Keitra before we departed, and said what you did back there, back on what was the planet called that we were just on before Savarine?
Ryloth.
Right. What you did on Ryloth, or sorry, what you did on the station, not on Ryloth. What you did when we got to Ryloth. You are truly a master slicer. Now, this doesn't sit right with me either. Would you like to find out where our new friends are keeping their new cargo? For me, your night off might have to be a little different than the others. Can you do that again?
Of course, I can do it again, Captain.
We need to see what we need to see our options here. But we might have run out of them. I'm afraid. And she bites her lip. I'm afraid Shell might be right about the Crimson Dawn, and we don't have much time.
Captain, with all, and Keitra just can't really look you in the eye at this point, but Captain, with all due respect, they're in the hands of the Crimson Dawn, and as skilled as I am, I don't even know how we would get them out. I think our window of opportunity to see those people freed has passed. If it's all the same to you, I rather just skip the shore leave and us get back to Kibar Station and get our credits and move on. And she just kind of like turns away and heads towards up into the ship.
As she starts to walk away, the captain will nod grimly, her eyes closed, and will just say across to Keitra, "This is on my conscience, not yours. I am the captain of this ship. I don't want you owning this. That spark, that feeling, that fire, I had it once too. Don't let it leave. It's your strength. It's why you're on this crew. This will not happen again." And she'll turn to leave, and yeah, they'll keep the shore leave. Oh my god, yeah. She'll turn to leave, and yeah, she'll cut the shore leave to essentially just gassing up and getting the ship in proper order, and however much free time that would give the crew to enjoy this backwater planet or not enjoy it. If everyone was keen to leave, we'd head back.
If you want to fuel up here, you can do so. It won't be cheap because it's quite a backwater planet.
What's our fuel situation?
You are. Let's see. Oh, you just did some flying as well. Yeah, so you've you started with 50 fuel cells and you have 45 now.
Oh, that should be plenty to get back to the
yeah.
main station. Yeah, by a lot.
Yeah, in that case, she'll say, she'll organize everyone and give them as much shore leave as they need to take, but would hustle it given what Keitra said and the reality of what just happened. And she would go back to her quarters and sit down against her bed. It's stiff, almost as stiff as Durasteel, and she'll look at the equally stiff glass of Corellian whiskey that was sitting there from the night prior, and she'll decide not to take a drink this time. She wants to remember what happened, and she'll go to bed.
You go to.
So Shell's opinion would be the sooner we can get back to the station, the sooner that we can get paid, and the sooner that we can be the next step up in this process. So if it's up to him and no one else disagrees, I'd say spend no time here. Like, just get to it. We can sleep on the ship. We can drink on the ship. Whatever we need to do on the way.
Yeah,
You go.
I was just gonna say she'd be out cold, and Chip would have the go ahead to leave when everyone's ready. So it would kind of the droid would be checking in, I imagine.
Yeah, so Mara would agree with leaving Savarine pretty promptly, but he would raise the question. I don't know if the captain might already be out of it by this point, but he'd make sure Kitra's around, and he'd say to Shell, or just say in general, is this ship even going to get us back? It's falling apart more and more by the day.
She just kind of pats it on the side. This old girl's got a few more light years in her.
Well, you know more about that than I do. If you think we can get back,
Us,
fine.
if we have to crash and die, might as well be after a successful job instead of on the run or in some trouble. Go out on a good note. Better than most can ask for around here.
Ain't that the truth? But we haven't got paid yet. Hate for the ship to fall apart before we get those credits. Then it's not quite a successful job yet, is it? That list has been playing on my mind is all. That long list of faults and parts that we need. Some of them sounded pretty critical. Is that right, Kitra?
Yeah. And now we have this to add to the list. And she turns her data pad over, and at the bottom of all these parts listing prices, there's the Imperial ticket.
I'm sure the captain wants that paid sooner rather than later. Wonder where the nearest way station is.
I would assume there's probably one on Keybar Station, I would think. Or at least.
Yep, there'd be an Imperial office there.
Yeah. So
Once we get our payout, we can take care of it. Get it off the books. Though our names will probably stick on that document for a little bit longer than we pay for it. He'll kind of like roll his eyes.
I wouldn't be so sure about that, but we'll have it taken care of.
Yeah, Shell will give a genuine laugh and smile at that. We do seem to have our ways of getting around such things. Perhaps another login can make sure that our record is kept clean, perhaps. As clean as it can be. Though, removing our name from a watch list may be more difficult than changing a manifest. He'll, like, again, say as if he knows how to change all this stuff and you don't.
You know, if you were as good with a blaster as if you're as good with a blaster as you are with your mouth, maybe we wouldn't get into such trouble.
Hey, you've heard me talk a lot. You haven't seen me shoot yet. You don't know what I can do with a blaster.
Do you even know how to work that thing? Or does it just complete your ensemble?
Looks are important.
Well, I'm just thankful.
Just as much as words, just as much as actions. Look sells. But hopefully we'll never have to see. But it's not just for looks.
No, agreed. Let's hope that we don't have to find out just how good you are with it. In the meantime, I better help Chip put in the coordinates before we jump into light speed.
If we do have to use it someday, hopefully it's on that road chick making you kneel down in the sand like that, Doc. It's just like, so embarrassing, shameful. She get off using her power to make us do stuff like that. We're here just here doing a job. It's ridiculous. She'll see one
Less
day.
shameful than being
When we're up
dead
at the
in
top,
sand.
she'll see.
Yeah. Lloyd, this location of the Crimson Dawn, is this as far as in the Crime Syndicate world, is this a known location? Would the Black Sun know the coordinates of this?
So they probably know that there's a Crimson Dawn presence on Savarine, although where, you wouldn't think so. That's why they didn't meet you at their headquarters or anything. Like, they obviously came to the middle of nowhere to meet you, you know. But yeah, I think it will be well known that the Crimson Dawn have a presence on Savarine.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's a good point that they didn't meet us. Otherwise, I could have used that, but not knowing wouldn't be. Hey, we met at this random nowhere.
Yeah. Yep. It's just, yeah, they were careful about it. Okay, so
So
you go.
I was just going to quickly say, Kitra may not have picked up on it, but the doc there was trying to sort of plant the seed to get to head over towards Hypori for his little blackmail mission that he's been given to pick up this droid by whoever it is that's blackmailing him, because he's just antsy to just get that done and out of the way, and he feels like they're closer to Hypori now than they will be going back towards Kibar Station, in his mind at least, but he won't sort of push the point. He was hoping that she would catch on and say, oh yeah, we're going to need some parts from over there, so he'll think about how he's going to raise that after we finish this payment, I guess.
Yeah. She would just kind of sidebar you and just kind of explain that unfortunately until we get paid we don't have the credits to go to Hyperine to even request those parts. So we need some credits before we can head that way.
And it's always kind of funny to you, Kitra, that the doc, he's always so sort of logical and he's always got his head on right, but that just kind of seems to go out the window with anything to do with his blackmail situation. So yeah, I feel like Kitra, this won't be the first time that Kitra has sort of laid down just some straight up common sense to the doc in this kind of situation.
Yeah, easy, Doc, easy. Well, look, trust me, I'm making it a priority, but we're not quite done with this mission yet. Let's just punch it back to keep our station and finish this business. Okay?
Makes sense. Might go get a drink.
So you put in the coordinates for Kibar Station, and you can begin the jump. It's a straight shot from where you are. You can follow a hyperspace lane and head all the way back to Kibar Station. It'll take you about a day or so, maybe a little bit longer to get there. And yeah, you can arrive without any sort of incident. You're traveling hyperspace and nothing ever happens in hyperspace. It's pretty tedious and boring. But you're able to arrive back at your old home, Kibar Station.
All right, let's not mess around here too much. Let's just get this cred stick straight to the boss, get our due, maybe our next step. That's all we need. Any stop we take is a chance for trouble, and I'm not looking for it yet. Shell will say as if he's the boss.
And she'll kind of, as you're saying that, the captain will walk into frame. And she'll be yawning and stretching, and she'll say, and she can't take much more of this, and she'll pat the walls of the ship, and a Durasteel panel will fall loose, and she'll jump a little bit, and it'll wake her up, and she'll steady herself and say, let's get our credits and see if these are the type of people we. She'll look at Shell and she'll say, we have our first job with the Crimson Dawn. Do you believe that, given what they asked of us, that we're going to have any trouble with regards to how we perform the job? What does your experience tell you? Leaning on Shell's underworld knowledge.
And so I guess Shell would probably know better than me. Although I don't know how much work he's done specifically for the Crimson Dawn, but I know as far as like if tryout missions like this are ever go sour, or at least commonly go sour, even if they're done like well enough.
Yeah, they have a bad reputation. Well, they have a very useful reputation for being bloodthirsty and for tolerating exactly zero bullshit and killing people without much provocation required. So the fact that you're coming home probably is a good sign. If you're intent on working for them again. Although, like, you don't think that works for the Crimson Dawn. He's just like a fixer, you know? So
Yeah.
he might not give you necessarily more work at them.
Yeah, so Shell would just look over to the boss and say, if the Crimson Dawn wanted us dead, our blood would still be on the sand right now, back on that planet. The fact that we're here means we're probably okay.
Yes, I believe this has more use for this crew yet. Let's find out the nature of it, and she'll kind of return to her quarters if Shell doesn't continue with anything, basically to get dressed.
He makes money when we make money. As long as we're useful, as long as we're getting him paid and we're not causing him problems, there's no reason for him to give us any hassle. No reason to cut his own purse down.
Yes, credits does define people in this galaxy, and she'll kind of let that linger as she returns to her quarters to like get out of what's essentially like a kimono, and into her proper captain's gear. And if no one else would like anyone else is free to do anything before we go, but otherwise I would say we Star Wars swipe to the point of contact. This time she would suggest not going to his quarters directly in a surprise kind of way.
Sure. When you arrive back, you can easily like ask around, and you'll be brought to like an office space that's been said like obviously rented by and his people. Again, when you get to the doors, you'll be searched by those two Trandoshans, searching you very thoroughly for any sort of weapons or anything like that. But assuming that you're not insane, you're not trying to sneak any weapons in, you're able to get through. And you'll see that there's like several people working at desks with like displays and stuff up in front of them. And like sitting behind a desk at the back is And he looks up. Success?
Success. Easy enough. And like motion for whoever has the cred stick to hand it over.
Yeah, Keitra would just kind of walk over, and she's kind of got her hands in her vest, and then she just, pulls out the cred stick and slides it over.
Yeah, he'll take it and insert it into a data pad. And sort of mess around a little bit with it. Take the necessary credits for himself and for Cohoran, the overseer at the slave mine, and then pull it out, hand it to you. I hear that you have a conscience.
Some of us, Shell will say with a bit of a groan. Not all of us. Some of us.
Understand that will be the last time that it reared its ugly head when you work for me.
That's exactly what I told them.
That's exactly what I told them. Know your place, officer.
You dislike the trading of slaves.
She stands a bit taller and steps in front of Shell, who probably wants to speak instead, and says, it is not something that this crew has experience with. I was worried about complications. There will not be complications any further, I assure you. We appreciate the job.
Well, you were successful. And you did as you were told. That's something. But your conscience cannot be an issue. When I ask you to do something, you will do it. You won't ask questions. Sometimes that will involve the trading of people.
We did this job with no questions, even with some surprise complications and some added specifications to the job. It was all completed regardless.
Well, that is good. You've earned your 800 credits each. I suppose you must understand why I kept it from you.
This
There are
is
many reasons. To try us out, to test us, see what we're capable of, what we'll do, what we won't. Surprises make for good exams. That's what work is all about, proving yourself. Once you've proved yourself, that's when you can step up, take bigger, better things, take your own station, take your own jobs. It's the way of things.
So it is. It's important to test you, to keep you guessing. It's vital, even, that I see how you deal with upsets and surprises. What did you make of Waska?
the the captain will say, well, dedicated, but a quick trigger, hot-tempered. Seem quick to react emotionally.
She's extremely effective. Pulls in a lot of money. I heard about the kneeling. Who, his one eye will look towards you, Doctor. That was well done.
Thank you, sir. I thought it wisest to listen and learn.
And learn he did.
You did what you had to do to save your skin, and that's also a good lesson. You'll often be dealing with people who are hard to deal with.
Defiance is a fool's task. Stand up when there's no power. Out here, everything is power. If you have the upper hand, you tell people what to do. If you have the lower hand, you do what you're told. We were outnumbered, outgunned, outstatused. There was nothing to gain by being foolish.
Perhaps, although the job went well, I would say that as a slicer, I am always, and a mechanic, I am always one for the right tool for the right job. And although we were able to pull this mission off completely without fail, I would suggest that perhaps we not traffic in live cargo, as our ship is ill-equipped for such transport at this time until we can get some further upgrades.
You have a cargo hold? No? What more do you need?
She looks to Keitra and says, my crew member overspoke. And we'll be disciplined for doing so. We are capable of anything that offers. And apologies for the lessons on business. Officer Shell, I assure you, our employer knows these things quite well. That is why we came to him. And she'll turn on a heel to and say, we will need to make some repairs to the ship. Can we expect to receive a hail from you soon?
When I have work, I'll contact you.
She'll nod and say, good business then.
He like waves his hand and looks back down at his desk.
She'll turn around, walk out, probably first, and when Keitra will arrive, when they'll have a private moment, probably outside of the office, the captain will say, while it was a test, our kindness to our passengers would automatically drop us from the list of those kind of jobs. Putting the idea in Ohm's mind that we don't want to do that might have secured us getting that kind of job again. I appreciate you speaking your mind, but in that room, Shell's tricks are the kind we need. Do you understand, Keitra? We need to be safe.
Captain, I may be young, but I'm not naive. Without giving explicit reason as to why we cannot transport that particular cargo, how do you know that he's not going to test us again? And maybe next time we won't be able to simply deliver the cargo.
He will test us again, regardless of what you say. And the more that you advertise to him that we do not do such things, the more he will want us to do them, out of spite, to see where our loyalties lie, and for the express purposes of making us uncomfortable or otherwise in pain. If you advertise our weakness, they know what to exploit. I'd recommend not advertising it again.
The captain would nod at Shell's comment, look at Keitra, but she'd also squint her eyes and hope to get across the message of not now, not this time. But she doesn't know if it found purchase, given the way the last day has gone. And she would say, I forget the name of that awesome cantina, but she would, sorry? Glitter spin. Okay, she'd say, round on me at the glitter spin. We're all going to need it, and we can talk where we can go to fix the old baby up. I'm afraid we won't be doing any jobs if we don't do some work on the old bucket. See you at the glitter spin, and she'll kind of walk off in a different direction than the crew.
Yeah, so we can wipe to the glitter spin where there's just this incessant, miserable, deep thrumming bass that never seems to stop. Stench in the air of various smokes and spices, and the noise not only of the music but of many people speaking at all times. Lights flashing in different places. Not a place to go to relax.
She'll have downed. She'll look to the bartender bot.
while you have.
It would be 4 of the Tatooine hustle on me, on my credit, and she'll pass a chip to buy the others around, and she'll say, "And how's your night?"
Big spender, eh?
She'll look and say, and there's more where that came from, so make sure you keep coming back, eh? And she'll tip the non-sentient bartender droid, who probably doesn't even care.
Yep, he knows to collect them, but not what to do with them, and so he'll take them and with like at the end of his arms, like his hand will split into several separate sections, and then there'll be like a quick shaking up of the various drinks, and then like delivered perfectly.
Yeah, and she would kind of let her crew do their own thing within the glitter spin for a moment before reconvening with them. So that would probably include Keetra's action.
Okay, if you want to search for Uwaska, it's going to be real difficult because you just know her first name. So it'll be 2 purples and 2 reds for a computer's check.
All right, and
yeah, I would also suggest using a destiny point for this one.
yeah, I was gonna say, you guys don't mind. And that just turns another green into a yellow, right?
Yep.
Cool. Oh, go down. Up point. Okay. Roll them bones. So 1 success,
2 threat.
2 threat.
Okay, so you can find bits and pieces here and there about this Uwaska person, just like bits that you can read. There's no like profile or anything that you can pull up, but a few accounts here or there, people who have interacted with her. A bounty hunter of some repute. That was a free agent for a long time, and for the past 6 or so years has worked for the Crimson Dawn and has like quickly risen to become like a lieutenant in their ranks.
Yeah, I would say that she's like looking for any information that she can dig up. She's starting a particular data file on this person. So any information, she would basically just run a program in the background of her data pad, just pulling up, and any sort of information it pulls, it just drops it in that data file. But if the captain would come by, she would quickly like toggle to another window on the data pad and show it over to the captain and say, Captain, now that we've have a substantial amount of credits and you yourself said we need to do some repairs, I've located several of some key components that we need on Hyperion. I know it's a little out of the way, but this will greatly improve the ship repair sooner than later. It's well worth the trip.
Like this is a mild deception, right? Like super mild, because it's probably parts that you could get anywhere, right? Or not, but like,
I mean, probably not anywhere, but from what I gather from Lloyd, Hyperion is kind of out of the way, so there might be some place closer. So why this particular place?
Yeah, like you go past Corellia on the way there, and Corellia is like the shipbuilding planet. If you were, so it's not like convenient to get there.
Yeah, the captain would say, "Why not Corellia? We have friends there." Vosk has to have a connection there, and she'd be referring to the person who actually gave them their ship in the first place. And she'd leave the question hanging in the air. What's so important about high? What did you call it again? Hyporia.
Hypori.
Hypori. That's a little off the beaten path, is it not?
Exactly. We'll be able to haggle the prices a lot better. We can put Shell. We can actually have Shell pull more of his weight.
She'll laugh to herself a little bit and swing back, and that'll be enough to like diffuse her inquiry. And we'll say, I've had enough of I've had enough of the stench of Imperials for one cycle, and they are far thicker on Corellia. You make a point. We should go where our kind are a bit more welcome. And she'll look over when Keitra mentions Shell. What is Shell doing in the glitter spin?
I think Shell is like leaned over the table, like way too far. Like it's like almost awkward how he's like stretching his back to like lean further forward over the table, towards the doctor. And he'll just like kind of look over, just kind of like shake his head. Still can't get it out of my head. That stuck up Huasca bitch, making us act like that. This is like again like the second or third time he's brought this up to you, but he's like can't let it go.
Yeah. I think the doc's had a couple of drinks as well, and so he's shouting over the music in response. Well, you've never had to kneel? Could have been worse. I'm here, aren't I?
Yeah, you're here. But still, we're just here trying to do honest business, make our living. They do that to us for no reason, just because they can, to shove their power in our face. It's not cool. We're gonna do work
Yeah,
like this.
well-
We deserve some respect for it.
Isn't it you always going on about earning respect? Climbing the ranks? This was step one, right? This was the first rung, as he takes another drink, bopping his head along to the incessant music.
Hey, just because that's what I say, it's what I believe, doesn't mean I have to like it. It's still bullshit, whether we need to do it or not. You did the right thing. That doesn't make me not hate it.
Hey, I'm with you. But guess we got to wade through a bit more shit if we're going to make it to the top, where you want to be.
We'll get there. Someday we'll get there. Speaking
Yeah,
of
maybe.
steps, now that we have some time, wait until get the next call from What do you think we ought to do? Where to next? Where's the next job?
Don't know. See what, and he'll glance over towards the table that Kitra and the captain are sitting at. Looks like they might be rusting something up now. I think we need. I wasn't joking before. I think now that we got some cash or some credits, and he's intoxicated enough that he's not even sort of taking mind of not shouting out that they've got money, you know, in this part, in this cantina. I think we get some of those repairs done to the ship. Maybe some
Maybe not
upgrades,
too
you know?
much. Yeah. That money could just as easily go elsewhere too. The ship's running okay. I don't see why we need to waste all our credits making it nice and shiny. Could buy other stuff with it, more important stuff.
Shell, Duck.
Hopefully, whatever we get doesn't.
Oh, we are summoned, he says as he stands, stumbles a bit. and stumbles his way over to the table with Hitra and the captain.
She's essentially drawn on a napkin a very terrible galaxy map or approximation thereof, and there'll be a place circled, and she says, "Bit off the beaten path, but at least we'll be able to negotiate a deal. We got to get our baby running smooth, flying right." And she's a little bit intoxicated. Her desk stick is glowing a electric blue, and
So I got an important question for you, boss, and for everybody here. How much money are we sinking into these ship repairs, and whose cut is it coming out of? Because I don't know if I want all my share going to making the walls shiny when I could spend it elsewhere.
Well, then I guess you better put your skills to the test and get the price down.
I'll put my
Tricky
800
there,
in.
assuming that that's where we're spending the money. Nice try, Kitra, but you're gonna have to work harder than that to pull one over on me. I'm serious. How much money are we spending? And why is it coming out of all of our checks to go to it?
the captain says, "Well, the ship is your home for now. You've chosen to be aboard it. Whatever." And she'll lean back a little bit more relaxed now. Whatever backwater situation we've all come from, we decided on the on that rusty YT, and if we're getting more jobs, we're gonna have to get it up to shape. In fact, it's our responsibility to carry out our obligations. You're the one that went on about how we move through the chain. Our ship is part of that. Of course, as per usual, I'd only expect a reasonable percentage from our cuts to go to the ship. The standard maintenance fee, and that'd be like, I don't know, let's say 20%. However, the doctor's right. If you negotiate a better price for the crew overall, I will pay your cut. Credits motivate you, don't they, Shell?
Deal. Easy enough for me. Well,
It's
make us
settled.
pay less, and I don't have to pay it anyways. Win-win.
Yeah. And she'll point at the location on this like napkin galaxy map, and it'll be circled, and she'll just yell, "Ibori, that's where we go. Blast Corellia." And kind of like flipping the Star Wars bird at the more common ship stop. And yeah, it would unless they have other business in the glitter spin, it would probably fade to travel or whatever else. If anyone has anything else they want to do here.
Are you guys sleeping in your ship? Are you staying? Are you going to go straight to the ship and leave?
Or I would go to the ship and then put a open patch through to our connection to and say on leave to for ship repairs and fuel. Is there anything you would like us to do before we leave the sector? After Hybori, we will be free.
Yeah, he won't like he's busy, and so you'll be told basically that like he'll call you. he'll have his people call your people.
A pleasure as always. She imagines. I imagine she's speaking with one of the Trandoshans or like, or some equivalent
Yeah.
of muscle, and she'll kind of still a little bit tipsy. We'll snub before the comm is turned off, and she'll say, "Chip, take it away. You know where we're going." And I would, unless anyone has other business, I would probably swipe.
You go that night?
Yeah, go directly there.
Okay.
I would say Keitra finds a solitude moment with Shell in the glitter spin and ask him, "What do you know of Jasper Ants?"
Sorry, did you ask?
Sorry,
Shell?
who was that too?
That was to Shell. Trying to lean on his underworld knowledge.
Would that be anything that I could possibly know? Lloyd? Would it be worth a
Maybe.
check? Or
Um,
is that like totally outside?
actually, no. I don't think so.
Yeah, Shell will just kind of shrug. It's just a name. Never heard it. Why? Who is that? Why should I know it?
Eh. Potential contact on Hyperion might be worth a look into while we're there. Maybe we can get some credits out of it other than just spending credits.
I knew we weren't just going there for nothing. It's too out of the way. What's going on there? Why are we going there? Who's this guy?
Well, if I knew, why would I ask you?
You asked me for a reason. It's not a name you just made up. Why are you asking about him?
Well, if perhaps if you knew of any dealings of his, you would have some sort of leverage that we could use to, I don't know, lean on this person or get work from this person or whatever the hell it is that you do.
Who gave you this guy's name? Clearly there's some connection if you know it.
Well, it's not hard if I just. And she just kind of like motions over to her data pad and she's got Hyperion pulled up and just like a list of various contact names and stuff there. And she's trying to pull it off as if she just kind of like gained it from Google searching more or less.
So let me get this straight. You're just pulling up random names on a data pad from a planet out of the entire population and asking me if I know them. Come on. You know who you're talking to.
Look, I don't know all the details yet, but I'm trying to help the doc, and you're the only one I know that could help me help the doc. But look, you owe me, and so I'm calling in a favor.
Interesting. This is somebody the doc knows.
Yes, but you can't say anything to him. Okay, look, the doc saved.
Oh, it's important.
Yes, he saved my life.
Interesting.
I don't know how I can repay him, but I am trying to do what I can to help him, and that means calling in a favor. Then I guess that's what I'll have to do.
Well, I don't know this guy in particular, but maybe we can know people who know him. I have my ways of making connections. I'll see what I can dig up once we get to the actual planet. I'm a lot better at talking to people with words than messing around, and I'll kind of like flip at the data pad in your hand.
Good. Again, this is between us for now.
Of course, discretion is important in our trade, even amongst crew members sometimes. When he says that, I'll kind of just give you a knowing look.
There's a a woman comes over and sits where you are, Shell and Kitra. I assume the doctor and the captain have gone to the ship already, or like at least they're on the way. And she says, "I couldn't hear you. I couldn't help but overhear you. You looking for work?"
Peter just kind of look over at Shell.
Yeah, Shell will turn at the voice. Who is this that's talking to us?
Stranger.
What what race?
Oh, human.
Since that matters, human. So we'll just kind of like turn suddenly and kind of quizzically. He'll raise an eyebrow. The crew's always looking for work. Next job.
Well, I might have something.
Yes. I assumed you didn't ask just to make conversation.
Well, no, you seem particularly verbose. It's really a job for you, as opposed to. And she looks at Kitra for a second.
Yeah, Shell will just kind of look over to Kitra. Let the captain know I'll be there in a moment, if you please.
And she kind of slowly gets up and looks at you. Just don't take too long.
I'm sure it'll just be a moment.
And she smiles. There's a situation. Rather unfortunate. I've gotten into some trouble with this guy. And there's money, and I was rather hoping that you could talk to him for me. I'll pay you.
Trouble. Well, it'll depend on a couple things. What kind of trouble, what kind of guy, and what kind of money.
I played some Kazakh, and I lost some of my money. I do have a stash he doesn't know about. I can pay you 150 credits if you just come with me and do magic. Just explain to him that you're gonna bankroll me and that I'll be able to pay in installments. I just need to buy time.
This guy, what's his name? It's hassling you.
Drac.
And this Drac fellow, who's he with?
He's with himself.
No one's with themselves.
Well, he's not any of the big ones. I don't know. I just know that when people owe money, they owe it to Drac. When they play Pazak in here.
How many credits are you down?
700. I'm usually really good at it. I'm usually really good at it, you know? And I don't know. Just got unlucky.
I'm sure it's just a terrible run of luck. Comes in streaks, hits you hard, gets you down. And how much of this stash are we talking?
I'll give you
It's coming
100.
to me. That's hidden away. 150. Is that all for me?
Yeah. I'll give you 150.
And where is Drac at?
He's got quarters, and she like points. You reckon like one of the many like quarters on this level.
He'll shake his head. No, no quarters. If you can get him to meet me somewhere out here, somewhere open, I'll talk to him, but I'm not going to his quarters. Not by myself. Not for you.
What if I make it 200 and I give it to you now? He doesn't like being bossed around. He won't.
Shell will kind of take a step back, cautiously. Not make any crazy moves, but just kind of holding himself a bit more up. It seems a bit strange that you come to me, ask me to go to this person's quarters by myself. Look, I know you're in trouble. At least you say you're in trouble. 200 credits.
You were
Not
talking
nearly
so
enough.
I heard how good you are. You're convincing. Plus, you look like you have money, so he'll believe you.
You told me you had a stash. The last stash you had, 150 credits. That's all you could make. Now you're saying 200. It's curious how the number goes up when the stash doesn't. Or maybe the stash was bigger all along.
I have to keep something for myself.
Do you? Clearly not. You're already 800 down in the hole, at least, if that is the real number.
I have to pay for food and lodging here until I can get myself back together.
But you can pay me 200 instead of 150. Clearly, the money's not that much a necessity for survival, or else you wouldn't offer it.
I need you to do this, or I'm going to be in big trouble.
And if I gave you my condition, he meets me in the open, and I'll talk to him. Otherwise, I have somewhere to be.
Okay. I'll ask him. Just don't go anywhere. Please.
Well, go on then.
Yeah, she goes.
Shell will send a message back to the ship that he'll be just a moment. Unless somebody asks, he won't say why. Just that it'll be a little bit.
Yeah, maybe like 5 minutes will go by, and she'll come back and sit. The Pazak Den upstairs. It's public. There are people there playing.
When will he be there?
He's there now.
Or now? Okay. I'll talk to him.
Thank you. And she like grabs your hand and like shakes it like really vigorously.
Yeah, I'll like pull the hand away after the first couple shakes. And then I'll start heading in that direction. I'm gonna specifically keep my eye out for just how public this place is. And the moment that I'm even within eyesight, I want to kind of try to see if I can get any mark of like who the affiliations of the people in this place are. And if they're even like majority of like one faction that seems strange, then I might do a thing. But other than that, I'll at least walk in the direction.
Yeah, so she'll bring you to the turbo lift and she'll like smash on the button. Like she's obviously antsy to get there. And she like continues to thank you like insanely the whole way. Like she can't believe you're doing this for her. And she's like obviously very relieved. Yeah, and you can go up to the second floor. And she'll like lead you sort of like a circular station, so she'll lead you like around. And you can see then the door to this place. It's like a Pazak den, which is like a poker den, you know. And she'll like open the door and it's like smoky and like it's not loud like downstairs. And there's like maybe 10 people in here. There's like 5 sitting at one table with like a dealer and then like another 5 at another. Or like spread around basically. You don't see any like signs of them being of a particular faction or anything. Like there's no giveaways of like Black Sun. Like there's no Feline here who tend to be Black Sun employees, and it's like you don't see like things that would suggest Hut. It just seems like this is a den run by like a local criminal, I guess you would say.
Yeah, once Shell kind of gets a lay of everything that's happening, we'll definitely keep a hand towards his blaster hip. Not like openly or threateningly, but just prepared in the event that this is a setup. He's cautious that that might be the case. And we'll just look over to this like anxious wreck of a person. Say, all right then. Who? Where?
Here. And she goes over to like a door and like knocks, and then knocks again. Enter. And the door will open, and she'll walk in. It's like an office.
Yeah, Shell will like cautiously follow.
Yeah, the door will close. It's like a small office, and there's a man sitting behind the desk. He looks up. He's got the look of someone who has spent his life, or misspent his life, I guess you would say. Definitely like scarred, rough looking, the kind of man who definitely is like a career criminal, you think. And he says, why don't you take a seat?
I'd be glad to. Thank you for the hospitality, for the invitation.
He like pours a drink for you and himself, and like raises it. You've come here to explain this woman's money troubles. You're her patron.
Shell will kind of like look over to the woman. Yeah, she asked me to come speak on her behalf. But to be honest, I'm much more interested in you. You see, information is a sort of trade.
Suppose that's true. And what do you want from me?
Well, contacts go a long way in this business, and I figured a show of good faith might be potential. See, this woman has come to me, begging me to explain away your debt, to say that I'm a wealthy patron, that I will beg her, plead with you to give her installments, to help waive her debts, to help cover her from her expenses. To be honest, I've just met this person. I don't know her, but I figured that you should know that she's trying to worm her way out from away from you, to skimp away on debts that could be yours. And if you're going to get what's due to you, then you should be aware of such things, and that perhaps you'll remember people who help to settle your debts.
Interesting.
Business contacts are important to me. I'm sure if I can help you in this instance to ensure that you get what's due to you, that perhaps something might come the other way someday.
Well then, and he lifts the drink and holds it opposite you. To business contacts.
Yeah, he'll raise the glass and clink it against, and then take a sip, and I'll just kind of like look over to the girl with this look of like, I'm not sorry.
He puts the glass down and doesn't drink, and the girl does not look shocked or upset. This is the kind of thing that got you in trouble in the first place, Shell. This is exactly the sort of double-crossing, backstabbing behavior that has gotten you in this position. And there's like a blur that begins in your vision. Good night. And we'll stop it there. So let's do our XP business.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Okay, so number one, what did you all learn today? So let's start with you, Shell.
Oh God. Trust your instincts. There's a reason that they tell you to do things or not to do them. It's like one of those situations where it was like so obvious, but also like just also so unbelievable. No, there's no way. It definitely is a like I have to simultaneously like know that like what you're doing is dumb, but also like ambition requires risk. And Shell took one, but he shouldn't have. So his instincts were on point, but he didn't follow them because his greed got the better of it. So he hasn't quite learned that yet. He's currently probably unconscious, perhaps dead. But that will be what he learns when he wakes up.
Okay,
If he
perfect.
does.
Kitra, what did you learn?
Keitra learned that she is definitely way over her head when it comes to this type of business. And I don't know. She feels like she's had to compromise on her morals, and she's just wondering how much further she's going to have to go. If it starts here, but where does it end?
Cool, perfect. Captain, what did you learn?
The captain learned that that if she doesn't change the way she directs the crew, she might lose one or more members of the crew and their loyalty. Specifically, she learned that Keitra has a knack for moral rebellion, and it mimics her. So she's worried.
Okay,
She learned that you can't do this kind of business and keep everyone in check. These are not the small odd jobs of the crew yesterday.
for sure. And Doctor?
Maro learned that the circumstances he's in and the path that he's on is one in which dehydration, heat stroke, hypothermia are not the things that could kill you. It could be getting your tongue cut out or getting a blaster to the face while you're kneeling in the sand on some shithole planet.
Wow.
And he's just, more and more determined that Kitra needs to, try and help him figure out his blackmail situation. And just one other note was the captain made a comment during the session was saying that this ship is our home for now. And that rang very true with Maro because he intends to get back to some remnant of his old life if he still can.
Perfect.
But I suppose he's learned that that's ever slipping through his fingers. Yeah.
Yeah, it gets further every day. Okay, and then favorite moment for each of you, and we'll start backwards. So we'll start with the Doctor. So this is what each of you give a favorite thing that the Doctor did.
I just loved the just the total acceptance of like willing to eat shit from Uaska and just like totally take it, no questions asked. Like it was sort of a very pragmatic thing. Like it's very easy when you're playing these sort of like outlaw types to have the ego get in the way. Like if it was Shell, he definitely would have mouthed off and done something stupid. But the Doctor's just like, nope, this is like we just need to get out of here and survive. And if that means like having to shamefully kneel in the sand and plead for life and plead for forgiveness, then that's what we'll do. Kind of taking Shell's words to heart better than he does himself, which is cool.
Yeah, I would have to agree on that moment. That was definitely the Doc's moment in this session.
Yeah, I like that moment, and I also like just like the commitment to the nerves, the logical machine that is the doc, kind of breaking down and unraveling, not unlike the ship, with regards to that news at the beginning of the game.
That was my favorite. Yeah, is him trying to worm Hypori into every conversation that he was in. Hey guys, we should really go look at that, get that ship fixed, huh?
And Shell like actually catching on very naturally.
Okay, cool. Favorite moment for Kidra? For me, it was saying no to the shore leave. I thought that was like real salty and really good. It felt like really grim. Like, I don't want no shore leave. We just like sell people into slavery, and it felt like correct. You know, I thought that was great.
Totally.
Yeah, just like the turning away of like the this is nothing to celebrate. My favorite moment, which was in character, a hatred, but out of character that I loved, was just straight up telling, shit, I always forget his name. Our contact, our main one. Yeah, just like, oh, by the way, please don't give us any missions that require slavery anymore because we prefer not to do those things, and we're not, we're ill-equipped to do that. Which is like so, like, naive and optimistic, like morally optimistic in a way that's just like simultaneously so pure and so frustrating. I'm just like, oh god, why would you tell the people who thrive on testing us and making fools out of us the one thing that they can do to like really twist the knife? But it was kind of great. I think it really kind of captured a lot about who Kitra is as a crew member versus some of the others in a really cool way.
I really liked that as well, but I actually maybe at least at first had a different take. I thought it was a very sort of me Keel as a player thought it was quite a clever angle to say we're actually not physically equipped for this. You know, they belong in the cargo. We couldn't fit them in there, so we had to put them in our quarters. I thought that was a good angle to play, but I also like how it played out with the group dynamic. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then a moment for the captain.
I definitely liked how the captain was coming more into her own with this crew, kind of stepping in when she had to, and then relieving, or at least allowing her crew member specialities to come into play when to offset hers. So definitely in those moments where had to interact with Asuka and she related back to Shell, like, okay, you know, work the deal. But as soon as Shell like overstepped bounds or something, she was quick to jump in there and say, well, you know, I'm still captain. I'm just letting you, you know, broker the deal.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciated the sort of consistency, I suppose, in that as well, and sort of the, I guess, struggle or balancing act that the captain's having in sort of trying to maintain the sort of authority amongst the crew, and partly by doing that. In terms of favorite moment, I'll pick a relatively benign one, but you know, like shouting the crew drinks and thing, for example, was that sort of one moment where she's trying to, you know, keep the crew together. Yeah. And celebrate despite the sort of bittersweet nature of the success of the job we just did.
I really liked the change of heart of the boss going from planning with Kitra to like definitely try to bail the slaves out and kind of get out of that arrangement morally, and then kind of the realization and decision of like, no, even though I'm the boss, like we made a vote as a crew and doing this is going to endanger the crew, kind of like putting the crew first before kind of her own personal morals, at least for the time being. I thought was a really kind of interesting turn that I was keen to see play out from last time. That we got at least a temporary resolution to that I thought was super great.
I really loved the sort of attempts to win the crew back over, and that they were kind of like met with lukewarm reception, like, hey, we could do some shore leave here on this planet, or hey, here's some drinks that I bought you, and everyone's like, yeah, we still sell slave though, which is like feels good, I thought it was really good. Okay, and a moment for Shell.
Definitely that me. That just unfolded really well. It was great to sit back and watch that play out. I thought it was an interesting approach that Jeff took with that, something that I wouldn't probably have thought of, and it was great.
I think the hallway speech to the.
Oh, you muted yourself.
Sorry, the hallway speech to the captain, like early in the game.
Yeah, that was great.
Just kind of like an olive branch, which was also like kind of a not a literal in Shell's morals change of heart, but just like a show of change, or at least attempted compromise, which didn't seem like something that was in Shell from the previous session. So another side to this very very layered CD character that's on this ship.
For me, it was definitely Shell and Keetra's interaction, and then let her spin when he's all like, I'm smelling your bullshit. What's the real story here?
Yeah, that was great. I just love the fact that like Shell went along with that last bit, even though like it was very potentially dangerous, but like his greed, like I feel like he smelled money and was like, well, this is just a little bit of pocket money for Shell. No one doesn't know about it. And then, that felt correct as well, in a way. Cool. All right. Well, thanks very much, guys, for playing. If you guys want to plug anything, you can do so now. And then we'll close it out.
No chance.
Thank you. Awesome game.
Okay, no problem. Okay, check for traps and then counterbalance. I don't know if I think you've a channel, Keel, right? And
Not yet.
someday. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you did.